carries as well, because we've not really talked about them as much. Now, obviously, Best Truck and Old School, both very capable carries. They can play many different playstyles. But one thing I want to ask you guys is, are we going to see something like an Adagio coming out from Old School? It's something we've not really seen this weekend, but back in the championship was very, very popular. It fulfills that CP mage role. Is that something we could see coming into this series?
We could. It's something that both of these players do play. I don't know if it's actually going to be really focused on in these drafts. I feel like the Celeste, the Vox, the things like that are going to be much more focused from both of these teams.
I don't think the Vox ban was a smart thing for TSM, because I think C9 were picking it specifically because they were playing the semifinals and it wasn't a finals. I don't think they necessarily needed to win. The Catherine pick goes through. Gabe Vizel is a beautiful captain to watch play that character. Scarf, we talked about it earlier. I mentioned how strong Best Truck is on that character and how much he likes it. That is scary for C9.
It certainly will be. Scarf has been, honestly, a highlight hero across the course of the weekend. Just the sheer damage you can output if you can position correctly, and that's what I want you guys at home to be watching out for across the course of this game, how good Best Truck is on that positioning for the Scarf.
And they're probably going to take off Blackfeather just because he works so good against Scarf, but no, instead they go for Celeste, removing the other strong mage character.
Yeah, they don't have to remove the Blackfeather, because if they really want to, they could pick it up for themselves and prevent it from going over to Cloud9 that way, because they don't need to pick their captain with their second pick. They can save the captain pick for the last, because you already have the Catherine there. It's not likely that the Lyra is going to get picked up for the side of Cloud9, so they can hold that for their final pick if they really want to.
They do have the Lyra still open, but earlier they chose not to pick it. They went for the Finn instead. The Cruel ban coming out from C9 is a respect ban towards Von C. We know how strong he performs on it and how much pressure he creates all over the map.
He certainly does, and I mean, that's something that Von C's known for. And obviously, out of Joseph, he's got a pretty mean Cruel himself, so it's not ideal to take it off the board for them. But both of these junglers, very, very wide hero pools, but it's more about trying to deny a certain composition from TSM as well as that respect ban. They know how strong the Cruel can be in terms of making sure that the Scarf stays alive in these fights.
Interesting that they go for the Glaive here, leaving the Blackfeather open. Obviously, Blackfeather, it's not as strong of a counter to Scarf as it is to Celeste, but it is still a very strong pick there. But maybe just going to be Team Solomon challenging Joseph, because this isn't a hero that he's played a whole lot of. I have faith that he can play this extremely well, but in recent memory, he hasn't played the Blackfeather all that much.
Yeah, he's played CP Blackfeather quite a bit over Weapon Power Blackfeather, that's for sure. And it does combine well with Catherine, because she can provide that lockdown with her stun so that you can land your abilities. Sky comes through. That's still to be decided whether it's Weapon Power in lane or CP in jungle, to be honest. It's definitely not Roam Sky, don't worry, guys.
We hope. I mean, we've seen Cloud9 in the past run Catherine as a carry as well for Joseph, so hopefully it won't be a Captain Sky again, but you never really know with teams at this stage. But again, Cloud9 and Team Solomon, both of these teams want to win so badly. I don't think they're going to go that unconventional.
Yeah, I think this series is too important for these two teams for any kind of crazy picks like a Captain Sky to come out.
I would love if they pick up Blackfeather here and use it as a CP Blackfeather in the jungle with a Sky Open Power lane. That's so much pressure through levels 4 to 8. Instead, they go for the Baptiste. That's more of a safer composition with the Catherine Baptiste. We talk a lot about it. Scarf does well against it, and we've seen him beat the composition today twice, but Sky does a lot against Scarf in lane.
And this was a very well thought out draft by Cloud9, because you think about it, when we saw the Catherine Baptiste lose, it was Scarf, Kroll, Grace. They banned away 2/3 of that. They obviously feel like the Kroll and the Grace were the big reasons why this composition was not able to win. So they take those two away and then get themselves the Catherine Baptiste again. But I feel like the Scarf was the main reason why it was being able to be countered. And this is a very similar composition.
I mean, I agree with what you just said. I think the Scarf is the main tool to beat the Catherine Baptiste just because of the range he applies. And Lance and Glaive, they play a similar role as the Cruel Lance in peeling and supporting and protecting the Scarf. Although you don't have any sustain with Lance in comparison to Grace, so they have to be very careful to not make any mistakes. I actually think C9 will take this one.
You think C9 has an edge on this one? Would you agree with that one, Bacon? Do you feel like C9 is coming in strong?
Yeah, I think the Grace was one of the key factors of that composition that was able to beat Catherine Batiste, being able to heal up the Kroll when he goes in. Glaive is going to be very much at risk.
All right, we'll see whether that is going to be the case coming on into this one. I'm curious to see whether they can get onto this backline or whether Scarf is going to be able to keep throwing out those Spitfires across the course of the fight. Let us know who you want to take this one. It's El Clasico here in North America. Hashtag Vainglory8. Are you a TSM fan or a Cloud9 fan? We want to know. It's time to get into our grand final for North America.
Well, that's right. We are here in the finals, ready to go. Week 1 of autumn season. Cloud9 versus TSM, and I'm joined by the Source, who's going on his 8th hour of casting today.
It's no problem. I'm used to the long hours, but this will be a great series to end on. Cloud9 versus TSM. I'm favoring TSM a little bit because the last time I tried to bet against them, Flash X just landed Lance Impale after Lance Impale and just did absolute work. But C9 have a strong composition. They should be able to make this a solid fight, but I believe in Best Chuck and A's Scarf.
Well, he's going to be stunned up right here, taking a whole bunch of damage. I think a Protector contract coming out, buying him a little bit of time. Vonce's like, yo, team, you've done wrong. That's first blood for Cloud9. Tan is on the run. TSM, a nice get team wall back, buying time for Flash. Another stun comes through. Bad mojo. Go ahead and put Flash down, and that's 2-0 Cloud9 in the first minute.
An explosive opening. I spoke a little too soon, but I think some of that was on the fact that they didn't have all 3 members there. Vance was finishing off the Treant. I think they assumed they would have a little bit more time for him to show off. And actually, Best Chuck NA got rooted. So that whole play kind of got set in motion in an odd way. But I Love Joseph might be in a little bit of trouble. No, he's in some serious trouble.
Yeah, you're in real bad trouble here, Joseph. If you get out of here, I was going to say I was going to quit casting, but I won't put it on that. Joseph turns around. He's still alive. Oh, Joseph will eventually go down. Flash. No mercy. Best Chuck moving forward. He's going to force the Gabe Vizzle back here. But the big thing for me, Source, this game, the weapon Sky. I'm into it.
It's going to have a lot of cutting potential, plenty of damage. It's going to make Best Chuck NA's life pretty difficult because Scarf wants to land as many Spitfires as humanly possible, and in the lane, that trading is going to be pretty difficult. Sky is just naturally more mobile. So that's going to reduce Best Chuck NA's ability to poke out throughout the lane. Maybe once we're looking at more of, the mid to late game, as Scarf starts to build up that damage, we may see Best Chuck NA be able to throw those Spitfires into Gabe Vizzle and really dish out that damage, eventually building up broken mist stacks as we get towards the end. But for the first 15, maybe even 20 minutes of this game, it is going to be difficult for Scarf to kind of play, semi-immobile up against the speediness of Old School.
I think that makes a lot of sense. This guy's just going to look to dance around those skill shots coming out of Best Chuck. If Best Chuck can land them, he'll find the impact. But Ordained down. Gabe's going to move forward. Flash knocks him away. Chuck's still stunned up by the Ordained as he moved backwards there. Gabe Vizzle doing a pretty good job to be a nuisance with those merciless pursuits. He's consistently just in the brush right there. Every time they move forward, just pop right there with the stun.
I mean, gotta build them stacks, man.
Mm-hmm.
Especially towards the early game. If you can walk into, mid to late game with 15 stacks, you'll have 30 by 15-ish minutes. It just, it just builds up over time. And putting some pressure there onto Vance. Gabe Vizzle is going to step forward. Will survive a lot. Nice afterburner over the wall, but Flash X is in trouble now.
Yeah, is Flash left for dead, but he did have his boots ready to go. Well, they have the boots as well. They're going to move forward. Actually, the mid goes to Vance. He's going to get the healing up, the protective contract, but Flash now is left for dead. You don't get out of this one. Ordained is there. Gabe Vizzle will get the kill. It is 3-1, Cloud9.
Yeah, Cloud9 dictating the pace of this game with this aggressive early jungle invasion, moving as a unit. I Love Joseph and Gabe Vizzle. And they're just, content to leave Old School in the lane because Scarf probably isn't going to be able to land a lot of skill shots. That means that Old School will not be pressured out, at least in terms of health bar. Even if Scarf manages to push up the wave, Sky doesn't do a terrible job of clearing that out and should be able to farm up the CS. So even if Scarf decides to push things up, maybe they even come in for a jungle gank. So for the moment, C9 not afraid to make moves around the map, whereas TSM has been kind of tempered in their possible early aggression. Their composition isn't amazing at early fighting unless they land all of that crowd control, but they're not even given the opportunity to try.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the Lance, the Glaive could be very aggressive and put some hurt on C9, but Flashy's felt like he just needs to babysit Best Chuck Berry. He's been babysitting the entire time. And at this rate, he's babysitting incredibly well. I'm going to need a babysitter in a couple months. Maybe I'll hit Flash up.
Possibly. Does a good job. At least as long as Flash shows up as Lance, you'll have a solid amount of protection. We do see a couple of items being finished up. Vonsi does have that tension bow, so a little bit more damage in there for the side of TSM. Maybe they can look to get a little bit more aggressive in the fight. The fountain is finished for Flash X. We don't have a finished item for Best Chuck yet. Should be able to get that Frostburn done soon, but it isn't there at the moment. Old School already has that finished Sorrow Blade, so we can see a little bit of that gold difference showing up in the lane items.
How do we expect Old School on this weapon sky to build?
I mean, going for the starting Sorrow Blade, probably a breaking point afterwards. And that's really
Hold
good.
that. They're on to Chuck. They had 1 stun, 2 stun, healing flask. Not enough.
And it's over for them.
Vonsi's here. Oh, Vonsi! he's got the best rotations, man. Vonsi, like, even when he doesn't find the kill, it's still so sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, he was in the right place. If they had slightly better position, that could have happened. And he managed to get his own tree in.
Vonsi, healing flask, he moves back. 1 more attack will take him down, though. Old School's there, utilizing the move speed bonus out of the attack, the target lock there now. An Impale, Crystal Sentry, getting him well back. Flash doing his best, but Flash is in a bad place. He doesn't have Fountain, has a healing flask of his own. He's ordained up and taken down. Old School finds another one. We're 6 minutes in, and this is 5 kills for C9.
Yep, Best Check now next up to the plate. Gets solid damage on the Isle of Joseph. Maybe he picks up the kill. Nope. Good Fearsome Shade to walk away from that, but TSM just kind of being routed every time they step up to do some damage. Now they are walking in 1 by 1. This isn't the best coordination out of them. C9, on the other hand, moving as a very, very solid unit. I definitely think that Old School is going to move over into a breaking point and just build up massive stacks, continue to kite the enemy team, because once one of those crowd controls miss, it's gonna be a good time for Old School. It's very difficult for anybody to really lock him down if the Impale doesn't connect or if a Githyan wall doesn't put him in the wall. Yes, you could have the Afterburner, but that means you have to get very, very close, and you can trust that Gabe Bizzle is not gonna let that happen easily.
No, he's not gonna let that happen. Bit of an advantage here. Vonsi waiting on cooldown for that Afterburn as he was playing games with Joseph. Joseph forced him out of his side of the jungle. Now this is C9 once again as a 3. Will be Vonsi able to move down into his jungle, and he'll get at least a half rotation out of this. But C9 definitely just setting the tempo here.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about in the earlier series, Best Chuck's item build prefers that defense, has that additional armor, is going to build into the Frostburn second. So wanted to get that sustain out of an even harvest, keep himself alive, wants to survive the fights longer. Actually, Old School goes for the poison chip. So they've decided that they want to apply as much healing reduction as possible, make it so that they last out the team fights. Even if they don't necessarily burst through a target, they know that they're going to be cutting down on Vonsi's sustain as well as the fountain out of Flash X. And in 2.8, healing is already at a premium. Taking any more away just slowly devastates a lot of team compositions that want to play the slow fight, especially one with a scarf.
I feels like, I don't know. It feels bad, man, that to see Vonsi, like, with the reins on him. You can see, like, it feels like every time Vonsi moves out on the middle area of the map, he's like, okay, I want to make something happen. Then he runs into Batiste, and he's like, okay, I'm ordained. I'm not going anywhere from here. But it's just like they need to cut Vonsi loose, let him make some plays. Flash, he's stunned up. They're taking a lot of damage. Flash doesn't have to self-fountain. It's going to use his healing flask, though.
Yeah, I'd say that's worth it to him. He'll be able to regen up a bit because he has that fountain. Life Spring will increase his regen. He's already a little over half health. This is a good push decision from TSM. They may not know that they're on the gold miner, but they see an open turret and they will take that down, so they will get their first turret of the game, get that 400 gold. That reduced health on the most outer turret allows for them to do that very, very quickly, and they'll close up some of the gold gap. Concern, however, is really on where does Vonsi make his play, because so far he just isn't allowed to move throughout the map in the way that, you know, we would expect of him, especially not after that game on Cruel, where he really just ran the table. For the moment, it seems as if TSM is waiting for Cloud9 to get over-aggressive.
Exactly. I feel like, yeah, they're just kind of baiting them in. You know that aggression is going to come out here. Old school, the damage stacking up. Flash, interesting impale, mostly to clear that wave out. Whoa, ticking down, holding that fountain. Man, he's got some patience.
Mirrors of Steel. Doesn't want to use the ability if they don't have to. However, they've now left Best Chuck NA alone. Vainglory is going to show up. They should be able to clear out a reasonable number of these minions, but I think this turret still goes down.
Yeah, it should go down, and I know Vainglory wants to play games. He's going to after now, but he does get stunned up. Nice getting wall, and Impale comes over the top. Blocked off, though. Fearsome Shade will cancel this off. They're able to take out Best Chuck. They're looking for more. Vainglory, one more attack from Joseph. Oh, he's got some sustain of his own. 552 damage, though. Oh my goodness. Tan getting wrecked. Triple kill coming through for the Batiste C9, taking the ace.
Yeah, and that fountain was held throughout that entire fight. I think the Blast Tremor, I think that, you know, FlashX was holding it as long as he possibly could, and then the Blast Tremor, you know, stopped him from being able to use it. They end up losing Best Chuck NA very early on in that fight. We'll get to look at this one more time, so it looks good for them. They've got a lot of damage on the Old School. He was standing on the goop, but the Blast Tremor comes through, and I'm almost positive that canceled out the very, very late fountain that FlashX wanted to use. He's gonna end up being chased down. It ends up being a triple kill for I Love Joseph, actually, not Old School, doing massive damage. Has the Shatter Glass, so there's definitely, you know, some crystal power in there. But I'm surprised that C9 is able to do this so well, and it might just be because these two teams know each other a lot when it comes to finals. They've played each other a ton and probably know each other very well. And Vainglory, good night, sir.
Maybe, yeah, that's, well, good night, sir. Exactly the way you said it. You said it best. That was 9 breaking point stacks in that second and a half there. That was pretty insane.
Yeah, massive damage is starting to come out of Old School on this weapon. Power Sky has that breaking point, so pretty much full build when it comes to the damage. On the other side, Best Chuck NA is getting closer to becoming devastating late game Scarf, but will C9 let TSM set up for that? We saw that in the previous game. It was difficult for Rogue to do that up against C9. C9 seems very confident in their ability to engage, and FlashX is over the wall. He's isolated. He's all alone. He gets stunned.
Oh, there's so many stuns. 3 strike over the wall. Old School takes him down. Vainglory late to the party, and they might go for him as well. The Crystal Sentry's here, but not as strong as it once was. Game this Old School. They're chasing forward onto Best Chuck. Old School under the turret, throws up the forward barrage for a little bit of slow. He's going to get out of here, but Vainglory still in trouble, my friend. Healing Flask comes out of Gabe and Vainglory simultaneously. Old School. Suri's right back down. He's going to take the backs as well as the Crystal Sentry, and Old School is on fire right now.
Yep, and Vainglory has been seen. I don't know if he's going to make it out of this. Gabe Vizzle, do you have the game sense? He doesn't.
Oh, typically does.
Unfortunate, but a lot of the other members weren't really in position. It would have taken this guy a little while to get there. So maybe it's for the best that Vainglory walks away from that one. Item-wise, Vainglory, he's picking up a bit of the damage, doesn't have his breaking point yet, or maybe under these circumstances he picks up a Poison Shiv. It's getting very difficult for them to finish off any of the targets on the side of C9. Maybe that mortal wound would be enough to cut through the healing that they're getting, because I Love Joseph is sustaining fairly well. Old School is sustaining fairly well. Gabe Vizzle is then throwing out all those activates to keep them alive. And FlashX is really confident going across these walls. I would not be so if I were him, but he's the pro here and he knows best.
Yeah, you say it, but I mean, you were saying the same thing about Status. What was that? I don't know. Actually, yeah, that was earlier.
Yeah,
it's been a long day. You were saying the same thing about Status. It did blow up in his face. We'll see how this is going to play out. I think they're in a desperate position here. And they have to take some risks. Although Flash, you know, also, you know, sometimes he doesn't have vision. He gets over, provides a little vision, a stun maybe his team can follow up on. But yeah, it's not a great place to be right now.
Has picked up the War Tread, which is something they've been missing, and Gabe Vizzle has been able to engage on them pretty quickly. However, Vizzle's got the Echo. That Double Blast Tremor is going to come out. TSM needs to be careful about where they position this, and they need to block at least one of the 2 Blast Tremors with the Crucible. If they don't, I don't know how they survive, because once the second one comes out, that's just going to be so much time where they can't do anything, where Best Chuck NA is just being run at by this weapon Power Sky. Old School has done an amazing job of dishing out damage while pretty much isolating Best Chuck NA away from the team. He's now working on some armor penetration, should likely be going towards, with the amount of attack speed that he has, I'm almost positive it ends up being a bone saw, no point in going for tension bow at the moment. So C9 slowly pressuring TSM out, and Vainglory just, this hasn't been his game. He hasn't really been able to do his job.
No. You need to unleash Vainglory. Vainglory on a leash is not... He's just not the same player. You can tell right now. He's kind of like, yo, team, like, I'm ready to go. I built offense. I got no defense here. And I'm just waiting around for the scarf.
Yeah, but he's ready to go probably about 10 minutes too late and 10,000 gold too late. It's becoming a struggle for the side of TSM to even find any more additional farm. Now the members of Cloud9 will instantly rotate onto this Kraken. This should be easily taken by them. And TSM is good on the Kraken defense. Let's see what they do with it.
What is... Alright, you're Flash X right now. What are you telling your team? How do you play this out?
As slowly as humanly possible. The more time you have, the more opportunity there is for Best Chuck NA to land damage. Unfortunately, Best Chuck NA doesn't have a broken myth, so you're not building those stacks. You still need to play it slowly, but once the Kraken, I think, gets, you know, pretty much past the choke point turret, you have to be willing to hard engage. Vainglory has to find Old School, knock him into that wall, which is why they want to play around this area. There's all of this possible terrain for them to knock people into, and Flash X already starting to take some damage.
Already taking serious damage. A couple breaking point stacks very quickly for Old School. They're on the choke point turret. Kraken healthy. Best Chuck. But that's a nice block on that first blast shimmer coming through. Gabe's still holding the Echo here. We'll see if he wants to go ahead and come around with another round of that. Kraken marching forward. That's an ordained out. They're on to Best Chuck. Oh, nice afterburn from Vainglory, peeling them off there. Flash X doing his job as well, but they're going to heal up, giving C9 an opportunity to get on the one Vein Crystal turret at least. And TSM, I don't think they want to pull the trigger moving forward. Trying to kill Gabe Vizzle. He wants another stack on that passive, though. And Flash will oblige him. It looks like TSM moving out, but you got to be careful here. This is such a dangerous situation. Of course, they don't have Fearsome Shade right now. Gabe Vizzle moves back in. He'll be met with a Spitfire and a Goop drop down Impale. Not connecting. Ordained is down onto Flash. Danger Zone Flash. Bad Mojo's coming through as well. And with that, TSM are going to go in backup.
Yeah, and that's the best that TSM could play it. Yes, maybe they could have gotten a kill or two, but they didn't give up any more than they needed to. Now, it was 2 turrets, which means the next major push is C9's opportunity to close out the game. That Bonesaw has now come through for Old School. Best Chuck NA, he's still not there. He's about 400, 300-ish gold off of his broken myth. He needs that for them to be able to win a team fight. Because, like I said, if they can play these fights, you know, slowly and methodically, let Best Chuck NA build up those stacks, they can eventually get C9 to overcommit and go a little bit too far, especially with the amount of slow that'll be that is being output. Unfortunately for them, though, Gabe Vizzle, you know, isn't giving them a lot of opportunity to walk out onto the map and find any farm. And he actually held his Echo in that last fight, which I think meant he was going to double Merciless Pursuit whoever stepped in and kind of CC chain them, because he didn't use it on his blast runner.
Well, Best Chuck, he's about 100 gold away from that broken myth. The problem is that he's going to want that infusion as well. This might be a situation where you're just not going to have what you want, though. I really think he does need that broken myth as you were talking about, though. Once again, C9 just clearing through the jungle of TSM. We got that stranglehold on them, choking them out. Waiting maybe for another Kraken to spawn up here. Only 1 turret remaining. There's that broken myth, finally complete.
Yeah, and this has been beyond, you know, setting up and camping in the enemy team's jungle. C9, they've gone in, they've laid the foundation, they've built a house, they've been there so long that, you know, they've actually paid off the house. That's how little space TSM has had to move around in their jungle. Best Chuck NA finally has this broken myth. This is their opportunity to find the fight that they need. Maybe they can do it.
Oh, Mortgage jokes. Flash, he's dead! He didn't found no Crucible! No, Flash! Best Chuck, well, he's gonna try to burn the Old School down, but they don't have enough damage. That is a beautiful ace coming out of Cloud9 to cap off a beautiful Game 1 here in the Week 1 finals of Autumn Season. 13-1 source! Wow.
Very clear control from Cloud9. We said that there was potential within TSM's composition to come back. That's a Scarf and a Clay. That's a lot of damage. There's always a possibility that you could find the team fight, but Cloud9 never gave them an opportunity. Old School pulled out the weapon power Sky and, honestly put on a clinic of how you handle these laners that are becoming so prevalent in 2.8.
Yeah, he did really put on a show there. Impressive stuff, but I wouldn't count TSM out of this one just yet. And to go ahead and break this one down, maybe talk about the next game coming up, we'll go ahead and throw this over to Munchables and the desk.
Thank you very much, guys. Exceptional game coming out from Cloud9. We were questioning whether they were going to be able to take on their Kryptonite, whether they would be able to take on TSM, a team that they haven't beaten in a series in basically a full season. Looking incredible in game number 1. My name is Munchables. I'm joined by Tasty Bacon and Iraqi Zoro. Guys, break that down a little bit for me, because this didn't look like the TSM that I'm used to seeing here.
Yeah, it really didn't. They got pushed in early, and Cloud9, this is the Cloud9 that we have been seeing. When they get an early lead, they just do not give it up. They fight you tooth and nail for every little objective, every jungle camp that you want to try and take, they will fight you over.
And to TSM's credit, to Von C's credit, he actually managed to keep even throughout the early game, even though they were losing it in gold lead as a team. And that's why they were able to fight back later, a bit later on in the game. But still, C9 are so clean with their execution. Yeah. And even though this is a composition that can be countered with Scarf, they managed to create so much distraction in the team fight so that Sky can just continuously output so much damage and clean up the team fight.
Yeah, there wasn't the opportunity for the Scarf to kind of just sit back and relax because they were being so proactive. We have an example of their team play coming on through in their execution of this composition around the 10-minute mark, going for a dive and an ace.
Yeah, they're able to just go right underneath this turret. Von C, he's half health before he even gets into the fight, and he has to just walk away. Now he can't be engaged, and all of a sudden the Scarf has to kind of almost be this frontliner, and that is never going to win you a game if your Scarf is the one that's taking the brunt of the damage.
And we mentioned Gabe Vizzle's mechanics and his activables. There was a Crucible right there to block the root. Had he not Crucibled that, they would have been rooted on top of the cube that Scarf had created, and that would have been so much damage that would have won them that team fight. But Gabe Vizzle, this guy just lives up to his name.
Yeah, he literally just never misses a Crucible. It's honestly incredible to watch. But the rest of his team as well, incredibly impressed by Joseph Batiste coming into this game as well. His fears were on point the entire game, and honestly just knowing exactly how to position and where to be so he could use that ultimate effectively. Let's take a look at what happened at the end of the game as well, as we saw Cloud9 kind of closing this one. It was a fairly one-sided game, all things considered. Already 11,000 ahead at the start of this fight.
I mean, we can see Lance or Flash, I'm not sure what's going on, but this is the second team fight today. The first one was against Hammers in the game that they lost. This is the second team fight. It's the very last team fight of each game that he messes up really badly. This time it's not only his activables, but his positioning. He kited away from his team and away from his Scarf, that when C9 chased him and killed him, Scarf wasn't able to output any damage back onto C9, and that was the main reason why they lost that team fight.
Yeah, and I mean, when you don't use those activatables as a captain, that is the crux of the team fight, right? If you can't get that fountain off, then you kind of don't stand a chance at that point, unless one of your carries is just dominating the fight elsewhere. And I mean, Old School was absolutely incredible in that game as well. We've got a couple of stats coming out for him. 26,000 damage, but the key thing, 11 KDA. This guy is an absolute monster and was showing it in that game.
Yeah, just really playing exceptionally well. Again, taking advantage of any opportunity given to him. Any time that Best Chuck was within range, Old School just took him down over and over and over again. And it was just the play from Cloud9 was just so strong, and it's so oppressive that once you fall behind, you just feel like you can't get back into the game.
All right, let's look towards game 2 of this series. TSM are on the back foot right now. Cloud9 looking incredibly impressive, moving on into game number 2. What is it that TSM have to do? Because it feels like they need to go back to the drawing board here. Is there something they can change in the draft to fix this issue, or is this more about in-game play? Can they be more aggressive like we saw them earlier today?
I do think they can be more aggressive, and they can change the draft. If you're going to try to counter the Catherine Baptiste with a Scarf, don't hand them over Weapon Power Sky, because that's a character that's going to shut down the Scarf, both in team fights and in lane early on to get ahead in CS.
Well, TSM banning away the Vox again against Cloud9. They definitely do not want Old School to get his hands onto that carry. Scarf going to be taken off the board. That does leave Celeste open, but Black Feather also on the table.
Idris is also on the table. We saw TSM earlier pick it, but that was only against Hammers. This time they choose to go for the Catherine to not give it away to Gabe Vizzle. Again, Grace still open. I would predict that, but it's also C9, so they could do anything.
Yeah, it is going to be the Grace coming through. I wouldn't have been surprised if they did try and take away a carry for themselves, but knowing that they had to ban Batiste, it would have left the Grace as an obvious ban for Team Solo Mid, so they went ahead and picked that up. Now TSM can choose to ban away, maybe something like the Black Feather again, but we'll see, because both the Celeste and the Idris are still available, and even though you have the Catherine, giving Grace Idris is still a very risky decision to make.
Honestly, if TSM doesn't pick up Cruel here, I expect C9 to pick it up so that they can round out the composition with either Celeste or CP Idris. And also that way they would deny it from Von C. So what C9 is going to be going for is going to be very dependent on the ban. They ban Cruel. So now perhaps CP Idris or Celeste, depends on their preference.
Yeah, I mean, Grace's win rate is absolutely incredible right now. We've seen that last season she had a very positive win rate. It's actually been increasing across the course of this weekend so far. I feel like Grace has just been sitting pretty in this meta and continuously evolving. And there we go. Adagio going to come on through for Old School and a double heal composition.
Yeah,
Not only a double heal, but Adagio is one of Old School's strongest heroes.
Yeah, it's one of his best heroes. I've argued for quite some time that he is the best Adagio in the world, so it'll be really fun to watch him get that. Now, of course, when it comes back around to Cloud9's final pick, they'll have so many options just picking up any sort of like melee bruiser.
I would love to see Celeste here. Best Check's been performing on it really well. It works really well against Adagio too if you keep your distance, and it synergizes really well with Catherine. That would make the most sense to me, unless Best Chuck doesn't feel confident enough to play it against Adagio in lane, because it's a tough matchup. If Adagio gets 2 auto attacks, 2 buffed, 3 buffed auto attacks, he can take down Celeste, but they do go for it.
Yeah, feeling confident in this one, wants to go for that Celeste, and it has been something that Best Chuck has been playing exceptionally on. Also locking in that Black Feather to kind of protect this, so you don't get the hard counter into this.
Yeah, it was almost required, because a double heal with a Black Feather is incredibly difficult. You just can't kill him, and no matter what you do. So picking up the Black Feather there, very strong. It can dive through the backlines. You can ignore a lot of, again, if the Verse of Judgment, if the Holy Nova goes down, you can ignore both of those. If Cloud9 has to take something like the Glaive, it was really Glaive or like maybe Rona, but I don't think that would have been a very smart pick.
Glaive makes the most sense. He has the Afterburn to create a lot of early game pressure, because that's exactly what they're going to be going for. C9 needs to get ahead early game and mid game, especially with the Adagio with his pressure in lane. On the other hand, TSM are going to have to scale up a little bit and get to their team fighting stage. C9, I expect them to take this game again, just because they are so confident with their play, especially when they play aggressive.
Honestly, this is a composition that C9 have excelled with in the past. We know that this is something that they've worked with in the past. How are you feeling about this one very quickly, Bacon?
If there is a composition for Team Solo Mid to run to beat Cloud9, I think this is one of them. It's a very strong comp.
All right, we'll see if they can do it. TSM versus Cloud9. Get on Twitter, hashtag Vainglory8. It's time to jump into Game 2 of our finals. Pass it back to the Source and Humanist.
Thank you very much, Munchables. And that's right, ladies and gentlemen, we have TSM versus Cloud9. Cloud9 up 1 game here in this final series. And the Source, we were talking about Adagio during the draft here. Adagio plus the Grace and the Glaive. What can we expect?
Massive amount of healing, and I really hope that Von C builds a Poison Shiv, because otherwise they are just never going to be able to finish off a target. C9 open up with aggressive counter jungling, but TSM with something interesting. They've sent Celeste. Best Chuck NA has gone in and stolen the back camp, and Gabe Vizzle knows.
He's like, something's not right here. Something's not right with the world now. Best Chuck gonna realize I've gone too far. He goes down. So he gets the backs, but he pays for it with the first blood going to C9.
But like that's not even just a have a feeling. Gabe Vizzle knew. He used the one flare that he had to find him. He's just like, nah, I know exactly what's going on here. And so C9 pick up the first blood. They're going to be able to let Old School pressure up. Already level 2 is going to have great sustain within the lane. Should be able to very much handle Best Chuck NA for a while. And already the invasion.
Von C pops the healing flask. He's getting taken down. Joseph, one more attack. Should find the kill. It actually goes to Gabe. Flash, his own healing flask. One more attack. He'll go down. He's able to regen up enough. Old School wanted to find that kill. Cloud9 come out swinging.
Yep, and a little bit extra general. They're not going to stick around. They feel confident in what they've already accomplished. 2 kills up 700 gold isn't insurmountable, but this is how last game started. And last game, TSM looked caged, as you said. Vainglory was caged. He couldn't do anything. He felt suppressed. He was completely boxed out of being able to make plays. And it looks like C9 are looking for the same strategy.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, and you were talking about also with these kind of healing comps, like you reach a point kind of no return where like up to that point you can burst through the healing, but once the healing comps get to that point where there's so much that you can't get through, it's very overwhelming. I mean, is that kind of how you see it playing out here?
Yeah. Well, so there's a couple of moments where this takes effect. Once Best Chuck NA manages to get the clockwork, the timing, the interval in which there's a lull in damage will shift, because there's just a lot of initial damage that will come out from Vainglory, and just the aggression isn't going to stop.
Oh, we know the bad place to be, Flash. He's going to go down. Joseph just takes him down with one nice big attack here. And it's going to be Old School drops down with Joseph to take this Elder Treant. We'll see. He probably goes actually over to Old School. He could use a little regen there. Why not? Hits a level 4 off that as well. Joseph will take the fronts away. Cloud9 are in complete control.
Yeah, and so the way that this healing strategy essentially works is you've got sort of this double healing, double support-ish situation because of Old School on the Adagio. Eventually, the healing will more or less be kind of continuous. It's pretty bursty with these two, but the healing's going to be there. Eventually, Flash X will have used most of his abilities, pretty much all of his activates. Best Chuck NA will have burned the Solar Storm. If they've killed somebody by that time, the healing will slowly overtake them, which is why I really want to see Vainglory build that poison shift, because if he's applying mortal wound stacks to multiple targets, he's going to cut through what Adagio does in terms of self-sustain. That can also bait Adagio into bad positioning. If Vainglory is able to get on him in the back line, he could easily get isolated and 1v1'd by that Black Feather, because a weapon powered Black Feather can do lots of damage and is very sticky, is difficult to peel away. And if Gabe Vizzle and I Love Joseph are diving deep into the back line to put that pressure onto Best Chuck NA, they could leave Old School all alone.
I think that's a smart win condition, the way you highlight it there. Oh, Vainglory, afterburned, down into the item shop. They tried to put him into the shop. Benediction there, Gabe Vizzle moving forward. Vainglory, the healing flash might have bought enough time. The on point connects here. Flash is dropped down, finds the stun onto Gabe Vizzle, and with that, do you imagine the C9 moves out? No! Old School's here! Flash is in trouble. Oh! What?
What was that damage?
Yo!
That was
School.
massive.
I don't know. Have they reached that point of no return?
No, that wasn't a matter of healing. That was just a matter of good early positioning and just the way C9 is approaching this matchup. They know they can't let TSM find a good start, so they're playing with this super hyper aggression. So much damage on
Joseph has been unleashed in the way that Vainglory wishes he could be. Gabe Vizzle moves in. Benediction. Holy Nova catches Flash. They've got Vainglory and Flash X taking 2-6-0, 5 minutes in here. It's worlds all over.
This is the Unified Live Champion showing their stuff. Old School is pretty much dishing out as much damage as you could expect out of an Adagio, but what's impressive is the way that Gabe Vizzle and Vainglory are moving throughout this jungle. They're moving as a pair. We could easily expect that. The jungle gold is now there, that moving 2 people around the map continuously is going to yield you the highest returns. But what they're doing, and what's so impressive, is they're waiting for the moment that they see Gabe Vizzle near the lane. They're then timing. Okay, this is a Catherine. She's only got level 1 boots. She can only move so fast. We know we can go in here and put pressure on Vainglory, and they're finding him repeatedly. They catch him at the shop. They catch him at his treant. They catch him at his bat camp. They are just slowly oppressing Vainglory's just ability to move around the map. And when you can't safely move in and out of bushes on your side of the map, what is your pathing? Are you going to go around the backside of your treant every time you want to get to the lane? No, you're going to have to move through those dangerous spaces.
Dangerous spaces indeed. They could use some safe spaces. Flash moving in, trying to make something happen. He's not level 6, didn't have the nice blast trimmer to drop there for a juicy steal. And honestly, playing against when old school's like trading even, typically his Adagio is super strong. Now he's playing from ahead. Things are just incredibly scary.
The saving grace for TSM is the fact that Best Chuck and A is pretty much in line with old school. He's not sitting on an extra crystal infusion, but he is a little bit higher in terms of damage. Old school has opted to put 700 gold into getting a reflex block that'll help keep him safe from some of the crowd control, but it does mean that they still have some damage on their side. The question is whether or not Von C feels comfortable walking into those places and getting in engagements that close. They do bait out a Divine Intervention, so there is a gap in the sustain coming out from the side of C9, and maybe TSM can find an opportunity.
That a gap in the sustain of C9, but that's like one scale of armor being removed from a dragon. You're like, okay, hit the arrow right there, bud. Well, C9, you're in a good place. The turret's down low. Von C's here, on point. They get the healing coming out here. A nice blast trimmer. Let's see if they can follow up. Von C's on to Gabe, but Gabe's not the target they want. And with the old school right behind him, he could have healed him up, bluff himself, and just go to town. So C9 in a great place. Benediction forward, Best Chuck, low on energy. Dragon's Blood contract applied. Joseph's there. Knocks him further away. Now, is Joseph in a bad place? Old school's there. He's going to wind up with the burst Judgment coming out. That's not connecting on Von C. Von C over the top. He's got the Rose Vincent. He got to kill. Old school trays it. 1 for 1. Look, oh, the attacks coming out on the Best Chuck. My goodness gracious.
Yeah, Von C, I thought he might finish old school. There was an opportunity for him to do so. The core collapse lands.
Oh, Gabe Vissel! An uncharacteristic mistake, and he's immediately punished for it.
TSM clearly not out of this yet. They are down a lot of gold. They're going to need to make multiple plays like that to make it back up. But like I said, Best Chuck NA has kept up in terms of damage. He's actually more damage items ahead of Old School. Old School only has 1 finished damage item, is working towards that Broken Myth. We'll eventually get that, but we already see the Frostburn and the extra sustain out of the Eve of Harvest working towards that clockwork. We may see probably around the 10 to 11 minute mark Best Chuck NA pulling out essentially that machine gun mage, dropping spell after spell after spell, could be the key to TSM making their way back into the game. And we saw that Von C did decent damage to Old School. Once he got to the backline, once he wasn't being continuously CC'd, they started to make some plays, now pressuring C9 away from this gold miner as the wave was pushed up. Best Chuck NA did a good job there, but Von C is low.
Oh God, he's gone! C melts it down. A solar storm came flying in from up in the lane, but a double kill for Old School. Joseph defending the turret, getting back down as an immense gold payout is collected. Cloud9, it's like they're inside Team Solo Mid's heads.
What was that burst? Old School I didn't realize that those auto attacks were flying. Von C had gotten so far away from the enemy team that he was more or less off screen when those auto attacks flew in and finished him. So C9 not letting TSM build up too much confidence. The moment that TSM looks like they're regaining momentum, they're starting to be able to maneuver throughout the jungle once again. C9 come back in, bop them on the nose, say no, and hit up one more time.
Night, Sweet Prince.
Oh man, this is getting brutal.
It's been brutal for a while. It's getting to the point where maybe the children should avert their eyes.
Yeah, this is carnage on the highest level from C9. They are able to just dive pretty much with impunity.
My goodness, Joseph. He's like, I see a hero, I dive the hero. It's that simple.
Which is just, when you can do that confidently and then walk away, a lesser glaive would have died for that.
A lesser glaive indeed.
If that ability to do that, it sets your opponent not necessarily on tilt, but it cages their thinking. It makes them believe that they only have so many options available to them because they believe that you're going to be willing to make those plays. They have to consider that you're going to do something absolutely insane that nobody else would. And because of that, TSM is going to be slowed down in the pace in which they're playing this game.
And I don't know if I had a chance to say this before. If I did, I'm just repeating myself. But you said Machine Gun Mage? That should be a skin. That should definitely be a skin.
Machine Gun Celeste, she just starts firing out.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
She's just shooting Helios out of her gun.
Or just give her a bazooka, just a mortar, and she just stomps it on the ground, and then it just fires off a Heliogenesis.
There you go. Exactly. Cloud9 moving in, 11 minutes in here. They're going to take this Crystal Sentry out. Should be pretty easy for them. Uncontested. Best Chuck. Now, we talked about how Old School went for the Reflex early. He upgraded his boots. That put him a little bit behind Best Chuck's offensive items. But Best Chuck, I mean, he sacrificed. He's not going to have boots active. He's not going to have a reflex block. So it's a bit of a gamble here.
Yeah, but they're hoping that they'll eventually bait C9 into a bad position. Out comes the Solar Storm, does not manage to steal that away. And although Old School does have the Broken Myth, so, alright, with Old School having the Broken Myth, it becomes Flash X's job not to take damage, which is incredibly difficult. When as a tank, you want to be positioned forward, and being kind of this utility-based captain, wanting to be able to get onto Old School now that he has the Atlas Pauldron, that's incredibly counterintuitive. But what Flash X needs to do is to get on top of Old School without Old School having built up any stacks. Because if Old School is building up stacks, it doesn't matter that Best Chuck is, is keeping up in terms of damage. The fact that he doesn't have a Broken Myth means that all of that damage will not be scaling, and Vainglory is so low.
Yeah, Vainglory is in a bad place. Solar Storm's gonna come through, just tickling C9. Flash is basically playing the distraction game. He's gonna get Afterburn back. Al Holy Nova is there from Gabe, and now he's trying to get out of here. Uses his healing flask, holding the fountain though. There's a steal, as you did say before. It's impressive stuff that they actually get out of that one. And Swords, don't tilt on this one. I'm here for you, buddy. But Vainglory, Serpent's Mask, no poison chip.
No. No. The reason I had hoped he would do that is because it lets him solo through Old School, but they just haven't been able to find team fights in that fashion. So I think he's just looking to sustain, because the enemy team isn't going to be picking up a poison chip. Wait, no. Well, Joseph already has a poison chip. So Vainglory definitely has a reason. He must believe that the initial burst of healing that he will get off of his Serpent's Mask is going to be what holds him through. But Best Chuck is recaught.
Oh, Best Chuck, you're in a bad place, friend. He basically, I don't know. He couldn't do anything. Cloud9, they're just tearing Team Solo Mid apart. I haven't seen destruction like this in a while. Honestly, I don't know. Like, Rogue were putting up almost a better fight than TSM are here.
Yeah, and it's... So, I love Joseph is doing crazy things. Like, he's landing those crazy afterburns just over walls, underneath tables, around the trees. Like, he's doing whatever he needs to do to land that initial CC. But Old School's, playing this pretty safe. He hasn't been under that much pressure, with the exception of that one team fight where he almost died, where they managed to, get the grace. But he's been able to kind of play this, I wouldn't say leisurely, but from a position of safety, and from a position of, I only need to worry about dishing out damage of whatever's in front of him. He's able to play with, he's able to stay within the what I call the recovery line. Basically, this is as far as I can do damage. I Love Joseph is way beyond the recovery line. He's diving super deep. The Gabe Vizzle's been able to stay with him and keep him safe, and so Old School has basically played this game by the numbers. On the other side, though, Best Chuck has had to put himself in dangerous position to make up for what's happened throughout the early game, and I wouldn't blame Vainglory for what's happening. It's really just the pace of C9 is something TSM wasn't ready for, and even after seeing game one, you can't say that you're prepared for your opponent to do that much aggression throughout the jungle and be that prepared to find you every time.
Joseph, it's like a shark. There's blood in the water. He becomes that hunting machine. There's a weakness, he's going to exploit it. It's kind of insane to me that Best Chuck actually picks up armor instead of a reflex, because Joseph's just been repositioning him every time. Solar Storm, you're gonna get knocked back there. Let's see if the armor keeps him alive. Nope. Best Chuck's down. Well, Flash X, you're in a bad place, my friend. Vainglory as well. He's like, Vainglory, I'm coming for you, my friend. It's gonna be a double kill. Vainglory, he's knocked back once again. Take it down. Oh! He got it! He stole it! Got it! He stole the Kraken! Oh! Vainglory! That afterburn, though, from Joseph backfiring hard. I don't know, this could be like your comment earlier about the mortgages, just an investment for C9.
Yeah, it's not going to yield that much. It's going to get one turret, so 200 gold as opposed to the 500 gold out of the Kraken. So at the end of the day, C9 come out ahead. They don't finish the game, but they end up with some additional gold. And so Best Chuck, this looks like not bad positioning from him, but just so much aggression coming out from I Love Joseph. And we see over here on the side of this team fight, I Love Joseph, yes, he gets a Divine Intervention, but Vonsi's not doing any damage to him because he has that Poison Shiv, because he's cutting through what Sustain would have come through on that Serpent's Mask. It's just not resulting in anything, and the team fight is going in favor of the side of Cloud9.
Yeah, it sure is. Look at the healing coming out here. Still holding the Fountain. Echo is on cooldown, but they take the fight anyway. Flash goes down. Fountain was 5 seconds away. It's a disaster for Team Solomid. They take his fizzle down. Old School, massive damage coming out. Best Chuck will die over the wall. Vonsi, one more attack. Joseph, sniff him out. Moving in there with that delicious glaive skin. Oh, can Vonsi get him? No, he can't. Of course he can't. It's Joseph. Joseph on a tear. 3-1-11, 12-0-5 for Old School. Cloud9.
TSM by inches lose that fight. If Celeste lives a little bit longer, they had the damage. You could see what Vonsi was capable of. He got so many targets so low, but it just wasn't meant to be. And this is going to be C9 finishing this out, at least I think so. Joseph is down, but no, there is no crowd control for Old School, and he finishes off the Vein Crystal.
Wow. I'm sure Bacon was about 3,000 Kriegasms deep after watching Old School and Adagio this game. It's one of his favorite things. I think it's one of the favorite things for a lot of viewers. Just a thing of beauty. This heal comp with the glaive, which is so powerful. It's delicious. Cloud9, congratulations over TSM to break this one down. Munchables and our analysts.
Incredible job by Cloud9. They have beaten their kryptonite. They had that chip on their shoulder of never beating TSM last season. They've already blown it out of the water to start this season off. They were back-to-back unified champions, and now they're going to be the winners of Week 1 of the Vainglory8 as well. Honestly, Cloud9, they seem unstoppable right now.
Yeah, that was just a masterclass in playing Vainglory all weekend long, really. Even when they, took extremely unconventional compositions, they made it work. And now coming into this finals, 2-0 Team Solomid, the first time they've beaten them since the London Unified Championship in a series. And it's got to feel good.
You have to bear in mind that this is not like a weak TSM. We saw them dominating competition earlier on today as well. They had a great semi-final, and then Cloud9 just kind of brushed them to the side here.
Yeah, they made them look weak, even though they're not. You're right, Munchables. And at this point, we gotta ask, who's gonna put a stop to this team's dominance?
Maybe someone at the World Championship. We'll have to see. Obviously, they've already got their tickets, but let's take a look at some of the clips from this game. Obviously, Joseph going in here at this 7:40 fight.
Yeah, and I Love Joseph was able to be so aggressive with this glaive. Best Chuck and A was able to answer a couple of times, but there was so much damage done to Flash or Best Chuck or Vonsi. Like, one of those three took so much damage right up front that they just weren't able to truly answer the way they would have liked.
And we see it's only minute 8, and it's already 7-2 in C9's favor. They did such a great job playing to their win condition, keeping up the aggression, and never letting it down.
Yeah, they did an amazing job across the board of just unrelenting assault, I think is the best way to describe it. And then around 13 minutes was when they started to pressure onto these turrets and got a fight that kind of opened the map up for the team.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing is that we're 13 minutes in, they haven't even touched the tier 2 turret, but they had 10 kills by the time they started this, and they end up making it 12 and get the turret and make it go after Vonsi. It was just such strong play. They were able to find these huge leads without even focusing the objectives. So many times we talk about the fact that a team can have a gold lead without having the kills necessarily. This was them having the gold lead and the kills and then getting the objectives, just working everything in order.
And glaives, Joseph's glaives, his afterburns, he kept finding them no matter how hard it was for him to get into that angle, punting Celeste backwards towards Adagio, and that's how they constantly found those kills on Best Chuck. On the other hand, Vonsi's Blackfeather, I've never been quite impressed with his weapon power Blackfeather. His CP is really good, but his weapon power Blackfeather, because he needs to be up and front, he sometimes goes too aggressive, and that's how we saw him get caught out of position, and that's how everything got rolling for C9.
He did have some highlight moments though this game, and there's one coming up to your screens right now. This is a beautiful moment. It was more a matter of I Love Joseph than it was of Von-C, but let's take a look at this clip anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's a sure thing that Kraken's going to go over to Cloud9. Von-C just doing what he can. The heal comes out from Gabe Vizzle to keep Joseph alive. But then, as he tries to get away, Joseph afterburns him back in. Von-C says, well, I'm going to die anyway. Might as well try and take the Kraken. And he manages to get it. If Joseph had just let him go, Kraken gets secured cleanly by Cloud9. Obviously, in the end, it doesn't matter. But you know, a slight little blemish on I Live Joseph's record that game.
It was the kind of Kraken where you're basically just giving them 1,500 gold at that point. But it was like literally his last breath before going down. Steals it with an on point. But we can take a look at the final fight of the game where Cloud9 kind of sealed the deal for the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, in this one we see Adagio, his damage output, especially when he gets the burn going before he bumps himself. He manages to get the kill on Celeste eventually before going down just from the burn by itself. I Love Joseph gets close. He tries to dodge the on point that's coming out from Blackfeather, but he doesn't. It doesn't matter though. He secures the kill, and that's how they push to finish the game.
Absolutely fantastic job coming out from Cloud9 there. They are going to take that game and the series a 2-0 final to Cloud9. Honestly, incredible performance coming out from them. I think they've